Hello and welcome to Liberty Nations TV. I'm Mark Angelides, and today we're discussing the latest news on the NRA bankruptcy case coming out of Texas. To help us out with this, we're joined by Liberty Nations legal affairs editor and host of the Uprising podcast, Mr. Scott D. Cosenza Esquire. Welcome, Scott.
An NRA member at present, I believe, Mark, for full disclosure. Yeah.
All right. So, Scott, do you want to give us a little bit of background on this? So the Texas judge dismissed the bankruptcy bid by the National Rifle Association. What are the details?
Mark, this has to do with the NRA's war with New York Attorney General Letitia James. She sued the NRA in New York State Court in August of 2020 and tried to have the organization legally extinguished because of mismanagement at the top. She says that Wayne LaPierre and some of his top allies have sort of bilked the organization and done some other nefarious things. And her solution for that was the entirety of the NRA should be obliterated because the NRA was a New York or is a New York corporation. And so it would come under her purview and the laws of New York.
Now, didn't she campaign on that, actually saying that she's going to shut down the NRA?
She didn't. I don't know that she used the exact words shut down, but yes, you're 1,000% right. She campaigned actively as an anti-gun politician and anti-NRA politician. And the NRA then ran to the federal bankruptcy court because it trumps the state law. So if they could get in and get a federal bankruptcy judge to agree to a reorganization under the incorporation laws of a different state, then they would no longer be subject to the oversight of the New York authorities and Letitia James included. And so that's why they went to bankruptcy court in Texas. They wished to come out of that procedure, a Texas corporation.
So this is really, the NRA is trying to get out from under the auspices of the New York's Attorney General office.
They're trying to not be regulated by somebody who's sworn to their destruction, as it were, Mark.
And they see the Texas jurisdiction as more gun friendly.
Well, not just they see, but yes, of course. I know that you're over there, but this is not something that requires a great deal of analysis. Texas is much more gun friendly than New York.
So this is not a new and inventive way of moving jurisdictions. This is quite a common thing, right?
No, it's not common to file bankruptcy. To file a bankruptcy case in order to protect oneself from the acts of an attorney general. This is, I can't think of another case where it has happened. And in fact, the bankruptcy judge who kicked the case out, he did so pursuant to a request by Letitia James. She intervened and asked for the case to be dismissed out of bankruptcy court.
So she asked for it to be dismissed with prejudice as well. Is that correct?
Oh, certainly, yes, which the court did not do. And for people who don't know, with prejudice just means that it cannot be refiled, meaning if the judge agreed to dismiss this case with prejudice, it would mean that the NRA couldn't refile it. That is not the case here. The NRA is allowed to refile their bankruptcy petition and almost certainly will, because it is, if properly filed, a way to get out of regulation by Ms. James, which they really do need to do, whether that's through the intervention of the federal courts, or perhaps a New York State court could recognize her conflict of interest in this case and appoint some kind of independent actor in New York to deal with them.
So Miss James here, in her role as the Attorney General, is she going beyond her remit here? Because it seems from a layman's point of view that let's just flip it around a little bit. Let's say, for example, there was an attorney general in a state and the attorney general decided they wanted to go after, for example, Planned Parenthood and said, I'm going to get Planned Parenthood shut down. And they campaigned on this. And then they chased them through the courts of the country, even though they were trying to leave.
It's totally not fair to reverse the order of the preferred parties. It's like, you can't do that and then apply a lopsided form of justice, Mark. We can't say if it was a white cop or a white victim and a black cop, what would happen, because the narrative must be driven. So that's just not fair to do, I would say. No, it's absolutely beyond radical. As you suggest, I actually think the better way to analyze it, Mark, is to just take away the political angles altogether. Let's just say they were a a music education foundation, like something that's just apolitical, but you had an organization that was $100 million plus organization with 1 million members, and there were half a dozen people, let's say, at the top mismanaging that. How could you say that the best solution for the membership, and let's recall that's her duty to the people, the New York State laws require her to regulate charities because of the benefits to the membership. That's what she's supposed to be working in favor of. And the people of New York, how does that benefit them? Well, it only does if you're committed to their destruction. It's also curious that Ms. James doesn't enforce this charitable inspection regime against political charities or apolitical charities that she doesn't have a bone to pick with. So if the only person, if the speed limit's 55 miles an hour, Mark, and the only person you pull over for doing 56, 57, or 58 is your political enemy, and everybody else gets a free pass to go into the 60s, well, then that enforcement is illegal because it's driven by an anti-First Amendment motivation. So you can have a legal enforcement that is illegal in its application. I think that's probably what's going on here, but unless the judge agrees with me, it's just my opinion. So,
all right, two more quick questions, if I may, Scott. Firstly, will we see, much as we've seen with individuals, and a mass exodus from the blue states to the red states, will we see the same thing for organizations fleeing blue states to red states?
This now has to be something that the boards of directors of the politically charged organizations have to contemplate and reckon with. If I were a board of director on a New York chartered organization, for instance, that could arise the ire of Ms. James, I would certainly put it on the agenda. I haven't heard about this kind of attack, using this sort of lawfare attack by attorneys general from other states, but it's out there now, so it has to be reckoned with.
And the final question, any predictions on what the NRA will do next?
I suspect they'll refile for bankruptcy protection with a better petition. This petition had some numerous deficiencies that don't have to do with politics, and hope that they can cure all the judges' issues with the first filing.
Scott D. Cosenza, thank you very much.
Thanks, Mark.
And that's it for this edition of Liberty Nation Television. Remember to hit Liberty Nation News for original articles, The Uprising and Rabbit Hole podcasts, and our signature television program, The Conservative 5. Just go to libertynation.com on your browser, or hit Rumble, YouTube, or check out our Liberty Nation News Roku channel. I'm Mark Angelides. Thanks for watching. This program is a production of libertynation.com. Conservative news, where truth matters.
Who are we? We are Americans that believe in liberty. We are a project of the nonprofit One Generation Away. We are patriots who apply the founding principles to the issues of today.
And they keep moving the goalposts on us.
We are educators and commentators who love America and the Constitution. Who are we? We are Liberty Nation.